Alrighty. I love the little loading thing. It always makes me dance with it.
I know, like.
So I think I would like to start out with just like, I know Stephen Graham Jones. I know Jenny's kind of mixed about it. Have you read any Stephen Graham Jones before this, April?
I have never read any Stephen Graham Jones before this. And I'm also just like, I do read horror sometimes. And I would love slasher movies, but I don't read a ton of it.
I think, oh,
we lost Jenny.
I'm frozen.
But yeah, I definitely have never read him before. I saw them talking about some books that I have heard of before, but I've never read them. Like, I think I remember seeing that Chainsaw book everywhere before.
Oh, My Heart is a Chainsaw. I did not like that.
Yeah, Jenny hated it. It's one of my favorite horrors.
I had all three of them too. In the middle, like the second one was signed, and so I traded some diamond paintings for him. I was like, you send me diamond paintings, I'll send you these 3 books. I don't want them.
Okay. So you guys have read him a lot?
I've only read that Angels of Indian Lake trilogy. So like My Heart is a Chainsaw is the first one, and then the next 2. I absolutely loved the first one. The second one was kind of more mid for me, and then the last one I thought was great as well. I think he did a really good job like closing out that series.
Excuse me.
But I have not read anything else by him yet, and I need to.
You should read Night of the Mannequin. You really should.
Night of the Mannequin. That sounds like a book I would like.
I don't know what that one's actually about.
It's about a mannequin who becomes sentient and like walks around and then becomes a kaiju when he eats Miracle Grow, and he goes around killing people.
Yes.
Love it. I love it.
I like that one.
I love it. My thing is like with these books, the more ridiculous, the more bloody, the more gory, the better. Which is why I was like, let's do a slasher. Like I was totally about that.
All right. So, what was everyone's rating? Because I feel like we're going to be very all over the place on this. 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
actually settling on a 3.
Wow, that's higher than I thought you would be, honestly.
Having just finished it this morning, I can't decide. It's somewhere between a 4 and a 5 for me. Like, I really enjoyed it. I think the audiobook just kind of like ruined the original experience for me because it was really hard to follow.
I only listened to the audio.
And the thing is, the narrator did a really good job.
Oh, he was amazing.
He's great. But the story, like you said, the first half, I was so confused the entire time. And I think it's just because he kept going off on tangents, but not just one tangent. Like it was a mixture of like 4 or 5 tangents all at once. And he starts doing this great thing of visualizing what he's seeing in his town and everything, but then it's like squirrel over here, squirrel over here, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? And then I totally lost track of where I was. So like I was just the beginning was super confusing, but then it does take it's like a switch flips, and then when the plot starts to get going, that's when I was like, okay, that second half way better than the first half. And I love the ending. Honestly, I really loved the ending.
So to me, it's kind of similar to My Heart is a Chainsaw, where the first like 75% of it is extremely boring, and then the second or like the last like quarter of it, there's actually like action and it's fun.
Yeah, I'm a very much like a plot driven person. So it's like the beginning part too, mixed with being confusing, was just boring.
I can see that. I generally like very plot driven stories. With Stephen Graham Jones, however, I love being in the minds of his characters because he writes all of his books that I've read are just odes to the slasher movie genre. And like, I just love picking like little bits and pieces out of these characters' mindsets that like I'm like, oh, that's totally Freddy. Oh, that's totally Jason. Oh, that's totally Michael. Like, and I love just being in these characters' minds and seeing all those little things. But if you're not a fan of those movies, that's gone over your head. And I can see how he would be really controversial for people who
And
haven't.
music too. You could tell the lyrics he uses as thoughts or even plot points. I thought that was really cool the way he did that too, using lyrics as sort of part of his writing and the feeling of the character and that and some of those parts. One of the greatest lines, and I think it was early on in the book where he talks about panic and when things are happening to him, how he likens the full body flush of panic as thousands of rats trying to escape a sinking ship. And I was like, 100%. That's totally the feeling. I just thought like that, like there are a lot of parts in this book that I really, really like. And that was one of them. And it was totally just like an offhand 2-second sentence, There's things that in here that surprised me. Are we doing spoilers?
We do the first part non-spoiler, and then we do spoiler. Okay.
Yeah, there are things that surprised me, but then he would just take so long to like go back to them. Yeah. And I was like, oh, let's get back to that.
Yeah. Have you guys talked about like what it's about yet?
No, we skipped that. Would you like to talk about what it's about?
So it's basically just like a summer back in what was it in like the 60s, right? 50s, 60s in Western Texas.
I think I was the 80s, no? It wasn't the 80s?
78.
70s or 80s?
I don't know. Look, okay.
I think it was 78.
Because only because of the music that he was talking about, like the old 70s music and the early 80s music.
No. 1989, a thing happened in Lamesa, Texas.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I was not alive yet. Anyway, so I wasn't alive for that slasher, but it's basically an origin story and then like how he becomes a teenage slasher and like why basically he goes around and kills 6 to 12 people depending on who you talk to. Because he only actually does kill 6 people, but he gets attributed to quite a few more murders. So, and it all starts at a house party.
Which I think was a little glossed over, like at maybe towards the end, the other murders.
Yeah.
He doesn't spend a lot of time talking about those, maybe because it is told in first person from his perspective.
Yeah, so he just doesn't care about.
Yeah. It's not part of his experience. That didn't, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think, too, the title of this isn't quite right. I think it should be, I don't know, something more along the lines of, like, the making of a teenage slasher or, like, something like that. Like, I think the title is slightly misleading because it has slasher elements, but it's not a true slasher.
It's not really a slasher book. It's about a slasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the fact that we just follow him and like his learning and his journey, like I think that this is a slightly misleading title.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would like Confessions of a Teenage Slasher. Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
That too.
I like that too. Because he is retelling his story in confessional style, which that didn't come across in the audiobook at first. He's actually talking to a tape recorder and telling his story. Like, I think that would have been so cool with the audiobook if there was tape recorder sounds.
Are we doing spoilers yet? Because
is that a spoiler? Sorry.
I don't know. Is it?
It's not on a tape recorder because the paper was printed out, and he said that this paper is going to be printed and sitting on the printer.
Was
at the very end?
Was this whole thing a love letter? I think it's a love letter to Amber.
Yeah, I'll say it.
I think this whole book is a love letter.
I'll agree with that. But it was earlier in the book, because I wrote it down on notes, he mentions this is a tape recorder. So
That's
maybe he
interesting
figured it
because
out later.
yeah, because at the end it says that she has basically all of it printed out in her old truck, and
Yeah.
that she will find the last page printed and sitting on the printer in the office when she comes
Yeah.
in to buy the truck. So that's a plot hole.
Or maybe he typed it out
Well, you
after.
know.
Maybe he like, you know how they do? They like record it
yeah,
and then you type it out
record it.
later.
Or
Text-to-speech.
like those, yeah, the speech to text thing where it's typing it out as he's saying it.
Yeah. Because it was one of those parts that was like a stream of consciousness thing where he's like, oh, let me figure this tape recorder, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's get back to that. The tape recorder ran out. He mentioned something about a tape recorder. I was like, oh, okay. No wonder this is like kind of like very jumbled thoughts because he's literally just thinking about it. And then later, he's probably later writing it down.
Yeah.
Did
Possibly.
it mention how long ago this was towards the end? I really can't remember.
Well, she has a daughter.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's been a while, but like how long has it been? So it's probably hard to recall everything.
I would say 20 years, 15 to 20 years later. Because she was a teen then, and now she's a mom with a daughter that's like what a young daughter.
Yeah. I don't know if it said her age, like her daughter's.
I don't think it's.
Oh, here it says the last 17 years.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, hey, Kristen. No, that's totally
No
okay.
problem. If you want to read this book, we're going to talk about spoilers here in a moment. So,
yeah, up to you if you want spoilers.
Yeah. But if you don't care about reading it, then we could just spoil the whole thing for you, and you'll get the whole
Or
story.
just don't care about spoilers because I don't care about spoilers. They don't ruin things for me.
The last book, we completely spoiled everything for everybody, and they were just like, "I'll listen to it."
I care if I want to read the book.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like otherwise, especially if it's like a big plot hole or not plot hole, but like a big plot twist or something like that. Like I care about those things because I like the feeling of in the moment and being surprised myself. So you know, takes away that surprise.
I feel like when you're in the booktube space, everything gets spoiled for you anyway. It's so hard to not get spoiled on things.
You can't avoid it. I mean, I avoided like SJM spoilers for a long time.
That's impressive. I don't know.
I was just like, every time I saw it, I was like, nope, moving towards that.
I'd be back in a book buying band for a bit. Yeah, I keep telling myself that, and then things keep showing up.
I'm like, I really haven't bought a lot of books lately, but I bought them a long time ago, and now they're showing up in my house.
like the pre-orders and things, or like
pre-orders, and I just forget about them.
Have that same issue. Like I got a book yesterday in the mail, and I was like, I forgot I even ordered this. Cool surprise. All right. I think this book is really hard to talk about without talking about spoilers. So I would say let's go into those. So if anyone is watching this back and doesn't want spoilers, leave now.
I'm going to start with one of my biggest gripes about this book. This is a gross misrepresentation of band kids. Okay, we band kids would never tie someone to a chair if they had a peanut allergy and feed them peanuts. Okay? We are not mean like that.
Right? Yeah, I thought it was weird. I was like, I could see this from like, football
yes,
or something like.
And it almost feels like he meant to write it as football, and then he was like, oh, this has been done before. Let's make them band kids instead. It didn't feel natural.
Yeah. I also thought it was weird that the main character was just a white kid. Because he's an Indigenous author.
Oh.
Hence why Amber is
Indigenous.
I
love seeing the little snippets of like her and her family and stuff too. Like the feather in the thing and like in the window of her rabbit and stuff like that.
That's My Heart is a Chainsaw by him is follows a lot of indigenous things.
Mm.
The main character is Indian, and
Also, yeah, there's also the Only Good Indians by him that I haven't read yet, but that supposedly has a lot. Well, I mean, going by title, obviously.
yeah, you would assume.
Even though this wasn't my favorite book, I definitely am curious to read more from him. You know, like
Read Night of the
there's
Mannequins.
elements of this that were so good.
Mhm.
Like this whole I mean, big spoiler of the book is the whole supernatural element of like kind of the zombie effect of him becoming the slasher, like how he had a cut on his head and the block.
Blood.
I told
blood.
Steph, I told Steph, I was like, he became a were-slasher because, like,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so. I was not expecting that when
I wasn't expecting that either.
A zombie.
because he was really only and like he was really only affected around the people he was supposed to be slashing. So like that's where like the were-slasher part like in my brain.
Yeah, and like how he's slowly aware that things are changing. He's turning into the slasher by the color draining out of his eyesight. Like that was cool. That's a cool concept.
I mean, she discovers a lot of it though.
Yeah,
you know, because she
Mhm.
watches
He
all the
doesn't.
slashers.
Yeah, and then the only thing I didn't get with that is why everyone else turns into the slasher characters or like the victim characters, like they all take on these totally different traits that they wouldn't normally take on. Like, you know, the girl that swears a lot stops swearing because she's the goody two shoes victim and stuff like that. Like, I don't know that worked for me in this whole thing as much. Because it just seems like, how did they get like that then?
Right.
I think that's
Like, is he
just
putting
the
off these
magic.
pheromones that are like making the whole town
Yeah.
into like a once situation where everybody's playing their roles? And
I think it's just like a kind of magic that
Yeah.
like he
it's a
has,
magical
and
element. Yeah.
yeah, and like everyone he has around. So since Amber was the final girl and slashers are like virgins and they don't cuss and they're like, you know, the sweetest one and everything, which makes sense as to why she would stop doing those things. But you do have to take into account that like there's magic like in the air of the town because of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That would make sense then if it's more like it's like they're like in this magical bubble. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Also, okay, being around plenty of oil drills here, I cannot figure out how two people would ride one at the same time unless one was right in front of the other. Like,
I mean, I literally can't picture it in my brain because I don't have any reference of it. So
I was sitting there. I was
Yeah,
waiting for Jake to get off work or something, and I was sitting there staring at an oil drill, and I was like, "How would two people ride this?" Unless there was like it was like, you know, like on a horse where one person's in the front, one person's in the back. Like it doesn't make sense unless it's like a different kind that we don't use nowadays.
that could be because it was set
89.
In 89.
But to me, an oil drill is like stories high. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I was
know.
imagining. And I was like, why are we climbing up there and riding this? Like you're asking to die.
Well, and then at the end, when he falls 7 stories, I was like, oh, there you go. There's the gigantic oil thing. But that was like, they're in a grain tower or something like that. They're like
a grain silo.
Which those things are massive and terrifying. You could just get dead quick.
Yeah, oil
get dead quick.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about his slasher name? Strappy? That's all you could come up with? Strappy?
It sounds like a clown.
It sounds like a clown.
Yeah, I thought it was weird.
And like the whole thing
is it meant to be like they don't take him seriously, so that's the name they gave him? I don't know what that was.
Because like his whole mask is just a bunch of belts wrapped around his face, and they're his mom's belts. So all I can picture in the 80s is like the studded belts and like jeweled belts because they're all his mom's belts.
I love that. I love that it was his mom's belts.
And did the belts come alive like snakes and wrap around his face, or did he strap them like that? I couldn't figure it out.
It's the magic. They just magically.
They
It's
just
just-
appeared.
Because
I don't
all I keep
understand.
thinking about is like snake belts. Like as soon as the color drains, it's all and then these things go. You know, that's all I
Yeah,
could
there was
picture.
a lot of things that like weren't really fully explained.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so you just kind of had to guess.
Because he did mention like when he did strangle the one person with the belt, like he did like take it off and like wrap it back around his like chest or something. So I don't know.
Even the
And like he
killings are
tried
kind of.
putting him on his face himself. So
And it
like
didn't work. Yeah.
yeah.
I do
Like,
think it was
when
really
the llama
cool.
was watching.
I love the llama.
Gosh.
I do think it was really cool how he told about the killings because this is kind of like he's a writer in his body, in his own body. So he kind of tells it not in first person, but as if looking in on somebody else doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like you're
I
watching
really
a
love,
movie.
yeah, like you're watching a movie, and I really, I do think this would be a cool movie
I think it would be an interesting one for sure. Yeah.
because of the whole supernatural magical element, like
Yeah.
things just slowly devolving into chaos, like, and then him just going up. I guess I'm a slasher now, and when I killed 6 people, and I guess I did it pretty well, and like I just like I think it would be a cool movie with the right director and everything like that. Like I think
Yeah.
it could be.
I want to know how
yeah.
everybody like explained the one. Well, I know that his parents or whatever was the reason why they explained it, but like, what was the point of the parents digging up the one dude's body in the beginning and like taking it to the party? Like how everybody was just like, oh, it's the parents that did it. Like, why would they do that? Like,
It really was like
it was casual. Mhm.
it was very casual, and I my note was he clearly talks about killing high schoolers in a nonchalant manner because I don't think he meant to kill them. This was when I was still guessing.
Mm.
I think he's just repeating what society thinks of him. Like
Yeah.
like as if he's read the headlines. He's like, this headline said this about me, so I guess that's what it is. I'm a teenage slasher and I killed 6 people.
But I think like
Well-
it kind of ingrains too that he didn't know what was going on. Like he was having these blackouts, he was losing time, he was confused, he had no clue. Like if it wasn't for Amber, I don't think he ever would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then he wasn't necessarily blacking out. He was aware of what he's doing, and that's why he's like, I did it.
But then
But
like they'd go
He
back
wasn't in
and like
control.
things would be gone and like he'd be like, well, did it happen? Did it
Yeah,
not?
that's
Did I
true.
not kill them?
Nah. I guess, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys read the acknowledgments at all. I don't normally, but in his books I do because he pours so much of his own life and experiences into these books. He actually grew up in a small town in Texas
I knew
near
that.
here. But like the drive-in, I forget what it's called. Was it like Sky something? I don't know, whatever. Like that was an actual place. Like he still goes and takes his family there to watch movies. Like in the whole like weird drill thing with the zombie, like that's like an ode to watching his grandpa work. And like there's just so much in this that are just little pieces of his life.
Well, you can feel that in the writing of the book. Like you can feel that this book is personal to him, especially in the beginning part, which when he's describing the town and everything like that, it feels personal. It feels like he knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows the mood of the town. He knows what's happening in the town, all the little nuances of who knows who, and it does all those things. There was a lot of times in this book though where it's just like I just felt like getting knee jerked around, like him being hit by the truck or whatever was one. I was like, why are you all of a sudden in a grocery store? Like, why are you stocking shelves or whatever? Now you're getting hit. Like it just feels disjointed as heck.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's happening now?
Which I
It was
think
really hard to follow.
Yeah, I
And
think
then-
that's the whole stream of consciousness, like you were saying, was like he would just be like telling stories like, oh wait, just a second, this is important. Let me tell you this real fast, you know?
Mhm.
And
then
they
I'd be
do
like,
that like in the book. every time they kind of do a little jump like that, you get like the 3 little ellipses. So like a jump is happening in the story. So it's much easier to follow physically, where in the audiobook there is nothing indicating these jumps.
Yeah, I definitely think this would be better reading physically than audiobook.
This is very, very similar to My Heart is a Chainsaw.
I wasn't down with that part. You know why? Because I don't like feeling dumb in books. And when that happens too many times in a row in the same scene, I feel so lost and I start to feel dumb. Like in that beginning part, I literally set down everything I was doing and just stared at an empty screen and was trying to listen so hard and focus. And I could not figure out what the heck was going on. What is happening? And it started to make me feel dumb. And I don't like that.
The thing with the book, especially when I listened to that, and I know it's not even like an important part of the story, but I was like, what the hell is happening? He's got the book, he's got the book, he's got the book, she's got the book. What the hell does this book have to do with anything?
Yeah, the Western book.
It's just so lost.
What does this book have anything to do with the story? And why do I care? And I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of parts in the beginning, but then like I said earlier, in the halfway point, something switches and it's much more focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned on the Discord, the beginning part truly feels like it's like listening to someone with a really bad ADHD moment, talking about 5 different topics at the same time, bouncing around between them, and you cannot follow a single thing that they're talking about. They understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But you as a listener are a little lost and you're like, whoa, okay, hang on. Can we go back to there?
Yeah, his writing is very much like that. I feel like the entire Angels of Indian Lake trilogy has moments like that too, where I'm like, hold on, can we just, what's happening? Can we rein it back?
Yeah. Rein it in. Okay.
Night of the Mannequins isn't so much like that, but I think it's because it's a novella.
Yeah, so it has to be
more concise, yeah.
Direct. But
I mean, with as much as that I liked about this book, it could have been a novella, just the second half of it. Like, take the part where they're at the party, or even before then, when they're driving to the party and they get in an accident, right? Something happens, and then they go to the party, and then what happens afterwards? The slowly de-evolution of what's happening, and how he becomes a serial killer, slasher.
The whole thing on the way to the party too was another thing in the acknowledgments. Like, that happened to him in his sister's truck. Like the seat sliding forward when she stopped abruptly and he hit his head on the windshield. Like, so that was another like part directly from his life that he just like sprinkled in here.
Yeah. It worked as like the plot point, you know, because that gives him a little freaking scar. And the end of this was very sad, but also awesome. Like, I really liked how it ended and how he doesn't want to come back and kill his final girl. So he kills himself, basically.
I do like at the very beginning when Steph first started it, she's like, he's going to kill people over a peanut. I was like, yep, just keep going. Just keep going. It'll make sense, I promise.
But then he kind of doesn't. He kind of like, it becomes more people than who was ever in the room with them. And that's what I didn't understand. Like, why? The slasher element didn't make sense then. Why is he going after more people than who just wronged him, basically?
But I think that happens in a lot of slashers. Like, it's just people that are in the way.
Yeah, the peripheral people that happen to be in the way, which is why he
like
didn't want
in
to be around
slasher movies. Like, that happens all the time. Like, wrong place, wrong time. You're in the way, and he's on a mission.
But then, like, the parents are the red herring stuff, and I guess I just didn't understand those. Like, they're not
that I didn't fully
in the
understand.
way. Yeah, they're not in the way. They're
No.
in a different part of it,
But
kind
it's
of.
because like people think that it's the parents, so like they have to die to make it to where you're like, oh wait, it can't be the parents. It has to be somebody else who's doing it. That's what
Oh, okay.
that's my red herring here. You like my detective with the red herring?
I love it.
But yeah, that's what it is. So like when you're watching slashers, right? You're always like, oh, it could be this person, or it could be this person, or it could be this person. And as those people die, you're like, wait, it can't be that person, and it starts narrowing it down. So
That's true.
why
Okay.
the parents had to die, was because everybody was, oh, it's the parents because they brought their son or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Amber was a great final girl too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really thinking of her being the final girl, honestly, because
That
I
kind
was
of caught me
thinking,
off guard.
yeah, I was thinking Mel. Okay, Mel's the final girl, but I also didn't understand why Mel was the final girl. Just because she was the meanest girl, that's not usually the final girl, Like, so I understand. Like once he said that, I was like, oh, I'm a dummy. Of course, Amber's the final girl because she was there.
But like the whole time, just the way it's told, though, like he's telling the story, so you think you're being told the truth. Like, oh, she's the final girl, so you're just expecting that. So then when it turns out to be Amber,
Yeah,
I was
because
like,
he doesn't expect it either. He's not thinking of it either.
And the fact that like however you want to describe his vision changing, and he's like, run.
He's like, get out, get away from me now. Like, and I could just see him fighting it. No! And the snakes are coming. The snake belts.
So when I listened to this, I finished listening to the last 25 minutes of it after we got off of our sprints stuff. And like I was really tired, so like I just listened to it real quick. But how I listened to it was at the end where he said like basically the excuses he gave his boss. Like I thought, because I was listening to it wrong, and so I went back and re-listened to it till the next day. I thought that like everything was not real. Like I thought that everything was just fake and the whole story was fake, and I was so mad. That's what I texted Steph, and I was like, you're gonna hate the end of this book, because I was so ticked off. I was like, it's like when they wake up and it's all been a dream or whatever. And that's what like my brain thought, because I was super tired when I finished it. And then the next day I was like, okay, I have to re-listen to it again. And then he was like, this is the excuses I told them. And I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was so mad though.
I would have been pissed if it ended like that.
I was like, I need to make sure that's actually accurate, because yeah.
No, he's just hiding out in a junkyard for 17 years and retelling his story. And
the junkyard in the sky.
The junkyard in the sky. Was he
that's the
dead?
Title. No, that's the title or the name of the junkyard. What's the junkyard in the sky?
Okay. Because I was like, because he talked about the big junkyard in the sky.
Yeah.
Right after he falls the 7 stories, and he's, oh my god, so now you're dead telling the story? No. Like, I don't get it. I was a little confused. And then when I realized, he's got to come back because that happens in the slasher, and she specifically turns away so he can come back.
Yeah.
I loved
that. Yeah. Yes. When she's just like specifically turning her back, knowing that he would come back to life. Mm-hmm. That just shows how much she loved him too. Mm-hmm. Like they really did, whether it was like a romantic love or a platonic love, like they definitely were best friends, and she cared about him so much.
Yeah.
And I loved how he was able to like get away, like just run away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing to me is just a love, like this is a love letter to her.
Yeah. Yeah. If it wasn't for that first part, me being so confused and feeling dumb, it definitely would have been a higher rating for me.
Yeah.
Because the total end part I loved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think I could have asked for a better ending.
Yeah. It was a great ending. I do like it.
It's a better ending than the ending I listened to the first night. I was
like, what?
Oh, no! I was ticked. You guys don't even know. I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. This whole thing was fake. This whole thing was fake. Yeah, I was so upset.
Yeah.
only thing I think that I wasn't completely sold on for the end was like the last like scene with his mom. I don't know that we needed that.
No,
I
Like,
don't
when
know
she
that I
came and gave him-
remember it.
Like, the mom
She
was
showed
the-
up and
and
like
knew
gave
he was
him
the
the car
slasher.
and was like, "You need to go. I'm gonna
Yeah.
lead them to the gravesite. You need to get out of here."
Yeah, we're gonna blame
okay,
it on your dad or whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't know. It was fine, but like I don't know that we needed that.
I don't feel like we needed the scene in the grocery store with the
Well, that's
freaking
true.
book. So I was like, I feel like that was the only scene the mom had because I could,
Yeah.
if she was in the rest of the book, don't remember because I couldn't understand it.
I think most of it was Amber's family. We didn't see like a lot of interaction with his mom.
Aside from
No.
at the store that she worked at, that he worked at.
And him talking a lot about his trucker dad.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever they were, the pump dad. I
Yeah.
didn't understand any of that either, like the pump
check.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pump checks. Basically just seeing how much oil's in there, making sure that
Yeah.
it's actually pumping oil. Which again is why I think a lot of it like made more sense to me, especially at the beginning than you guys, was because like I'm here, you know.
Yeah,
You see
you have
it.
that frame of reference and I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it in my head
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't know what these oil things look
Yeah.
like.
It would be the same
What I
thing
thought
as
they were, apparently they aren't. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all over. Like they're in people's like backyards. Like they're everywhere here. Yeah.
never.
Weird.
I need a picture of this stuff.
Yeah,
I
hold on.
don't know what it looks
Here,
like.
I'll
Put it
find
in
Put
the
it in the
Discord.
Discord because I have no frame of reference for any of what that part.
Yep.
But it would be like the same thing if you didn't know any of the 80 songs, because he certainly references a lot of his thoughts and feelings in the moment to a certain song. And you totally wouldn't get that either if you don't know any of those songs. Some of them he sings and some of them he says, like as
Yeah,
if it was
he
just
just
part of his
mentions it.
thoughts. Yeah. Which I think is cool.
He like almost uses them like in his sentence. Like
Yeah.
not as like naming a song, but like just a phrase that he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a picture in the Love and Horror Discord.
Okay. Yeah, like he mentions like Dashboard Light and stuff like that too. And I'm like, nobody would get that unless they knew that song.
Interesting. I guess that's kind of like what I was envisioning, but on a much larger scale.
So you're probably thinking of like the big ones that are on actual oil fields.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are the kind that like are all over here that I was like sitting there staring at it and I'm like, I don't understand how that's I don't understand how that's happening. So like unless they
Are
went
you
out
riding
to,
it like a seesaw? Like
yeah, like unless they went out
one
to like
person's
an
on each
actual
side
Mhm.
when it goes up and down? I don't know.
Because I mean, there are oil field ones that are bigger, but like you have to go a ways to be able to get to those ones, which is why I didn't think that that's what they were necessarily talking about. So
Yeah, the ones I know, like I've only seen them in Bakersfield from afar, and they look really big.
So here is a oil drill / rig on an actual oil field, which there's no way you can ride that. So
No, I was trying to find a picture of the ones that I see in Bakersfield. I think it's like this, and they're massive. Like we're all sending pictures in Discord.
Everyone's gonna be like, what the hell is these people's obsession with
So those are the ones that I've seen from afar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more like what I had is that big ginormous thing.
So they're
in my
just like
head.
a bigger
Like,
version of what the backyard ones are.
the little
Look
ones,
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those little ones though are all over here. Like
Wow.
they're everywhere.
Yeah, no, I've only seen them like driving through Bakersfield from the freeway. And that's it.
So Kristen thought I was talking about the big. So this is a one from an oil field, but there's no way you can ride that. I mean, you could climb
Looks
it.
like a rocket ship. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna put a rocket ship next to it.
And then these are the
Let me see
backyard
it, NASA.
ones for anybody who doesn't have access to it. Like they're literally
Those also look
backyard.
like these machines in Oakland. They're construction machines but they're
And then-
gigantic, but they're not oil machines.
That's what April sent.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I was really confused because I'm like, I don't understand how two people are writing it, like, because they're relatively small. Like they're
That
big,
seems
but-
like a rusty crotch situation writing that.
yeah,
I wouldn't like want
to
to.
get a disease.
I wouldn't
yeah.
touch that at all. But in
Yeah.
the 80s, just didn't think
Yeah,
about
you
that.
didn't. That was a different time.
Definitely
different
gonna
time.
get tetanus. Yeah.
Um, I found the part in the acknowledgement about the drill bit. So apparently his grandpa had like one of these oil field drill things, and he had a leftover drill bit from it, and they ended up moving into his house, and they used that drill bit to hatch down their cellars during tornadoes, and he said that drill bit always made him feel safe.
That's cool.
And then it was.
Yeah, I was-
to kill
And then it
people.
murdered people.
I was picturing like a gigantic cone-shaped drill bit, like on his arm, right? Like,
That's kind of what when I first read it, because I had no reference. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
I was like, does his arm just get replaced by this big like cone thing?
Yeah, if you're talking about like an actual drill bit, I would think they're more like on fingers, you know?
So they're like they're like these. It's actually like 3 drill
even-
bits. Hold on, I'll message it.
It's like, put it in the Discord.
I'm blind.
By the way, we have a Discord.
Yeah, there's a Discord.
Here's a link to the Discord in the description. Look, we're all over the place right now. There's so much to be said about this.
There is. I'm glad I read it. I didn't completely hate it.
That's all we can ask for. Oh. Well, I don't know how you use that to hatch down a cellar.
Oh,
But
They're
weird.
They're big. They're bigger than what the picture looks like.
That's definitely something that I can now picture on somebody's
Like-
arm going.
Like this is the size of the ones that are in the
Holy
oil
cow.
field.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
So like they are big. So
That first one looks like one that's just worn down, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
I was trying to find one with like a person next to it, like the normal sized ones.
I mean, that's huge. It
So-
almost looks like
so-
little tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
There's him with just like the head of the drill, but so like you can see how big it is.
Oh, yeah. That part was cool, though, when he kills the guy with the drill bit. It was like, I
Oh,
liked it.
go. There you go.
Oh, there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
have that pipe still attached to it, you
Yeah.
could totally
Yeah.
hunker down a cellar.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh yes.
The actual way like the kids get killed is cool. Like a lot of them. Like I love the skinny dipping in the lake, just idiots, and then the and then when she referenced, she's like, "Well, we haven't done the where you come back and go through like a hall of
dead
victims or
bodies.
whatever," and then that happens, and you're like, "Oh, that was cool," you know, where
Yeah.
she's like bumping into everybody
Have
with
you guys
frozen faces.
so totally other book, but have you guys read Taste Like Candy?
Okay,
No, but I need
I was
to.
gonna read that, and I'm still gonna read that.
You gotta read it. You gotta
I
read
just
it.
because I feel like that would be like also a book that I would enjoy.
Those murders.
Okay.
I'm
I
gonna
do-
be really sad if I read it though, and they're not as good as the murders in the Camp Slaughter series.
I don't know because I haven't read that.
They were so gruesome.
Do you want me to
so
tell you?
gruesome?
Do you want me to give you a spoiler on one murder from Taste Like Candy?
That's up to April because she doesn't like spoilers.
No.
Okay, I'll text.
But I will
So you just text me.
Yeah, I'll text you.
This book I'm reading with Becky's Black Hat Witch Coven. I forget what the name of their book club is. But I'm reading this next month with it. It has some pretty gruesome murders in it. Yeah, it really
Tastes
like cool
candy too,
murders.
man. Tastes like
Yeah.
candy. You like the inventive, creative murders.
I do love the inventive creative murders. I'm just like, give me some blood spurting out of something, and like that will make the book for me.
I feel like you should read the Slaughter series. It's all on
I
KU
wanna
too, so you don't even have to buy it.
I wanna
Okay.
read that series. I have, like,
I know I need to read more
art.
horror because I do love reading horror, like as just like a kind of like palate cleanser to my romances.
Yeah.
Palate,
We read
palate cleanser.
we read a lot of we read a lot of horror, and dark romance.
I know. I need to read more horror. I just there's certain horror things I will not read. Like I will not read dolls. And I
Mhm.
will not read like ghosts in the house
Oh, I
stories.
love ghost stories.
Yeah, specifically ghosts in
love-
the house
I love creature
stories.
features.
Yeah, I love creature features are my favorite.
My
Again, I just like
favorite.
ridiculous ones, and I
Yeah.
mostly read Grady Hendrix. And I know I bought his latest book, the house one, and I didn't
Mhm.
realize it was the doll
Puppets,
um
yeah.
book thing. So
Yeah.
I haven't read that one yet.
They're
It's
I think they're marionettes.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
It is ridiculous. I don't.
But-
Some of the stuff in there, I'm just like, where did this even come from? What is happening? But I did it. I liked it more than I thought I would because I had the same issues with it. I don't generally like
yeah.
creepy doll kind of.
What it is,
stories.
I don't like being scared.
Oh, I
I
love
don't like being
scared.
scared. I don't like being scared, but I love horror. Like I love like the gory, like the killer and the intense feeling, the intense feeling of it. But not-
Slashers, I think, are my favorite type of
Yeah.
horror,
Yeah,
and then creature features and haunted house stuff. If it's done well, I like, but it's not always done very well.
yeah. I like more like a mystery element to the haunted house things than scary things. Like there's a Ruth Ware one, Turn of the Key. That one's more of like a mystery thriller kind of
Yeah.
book, but it is kind of in a house that she thinks is haunted.
Yes, I forgot about the squirrels. That book was terrifying.
What squirrels? The
And the Grady Hendrix one.
the
house
house
one.
one?
Yeah,
Love
it's wild. It is wild. It is not what you would think it would be.
Yeah. Okay. See, I love his writing though because it's far more like funny.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I still will. And he even bought the exclusive edition from Barnes and Noble. And I'm like, I haven't read this yet.
Yeah, I think you might like it because it is not your typical like haunted doll type of story. There's way more elements than just that doll.
Yeah. I really loved these two. I loved
It's
these
very
two by him. These are my favorite. This one is my favorite. And I also really liked this one. I know not a lot of people liked this one, but I liked it.
I was kind of mixed on the Final Girl support group. Like, I think it was a little longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But
I just liked the
both of them.
thrilling aspect of it.
We have Horror Store and We Sold Our Souls to read. I thought Horror Store was a ton of fun. That book. But you have to have the physical copy of the book because the audio book is not going to hit.
That's the only reason why I haven't read it, because I don't have the physical book, and I feel like the whole thing with the IKEA catalog makes it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like each chapter header is like a different furniture item that is like featured as one of like the horror elements in that part of the story. Like,
Yeah.
so it's really cool being able to see the visual of the thing.
Yeah. The other type of horror that I love is zombie stories or like end of the world stories. But there's like that rust-colored red
Oh, Jenny
zombie
really
story.
liked that one, but I haven't
Did
read
she?
it yet.
I know I think it's a novella too. So that is also on my list to read this spooky season. So I have Taste Like
What's it
Candy
called?
and I have Rust-Colored Red on my
Yeah.
list.
That I need to read it.
Yeah. But I love zombies. Zombies are my favorite scary
Rust-Colored Rain,
horror
yeah.
thing. Yes, Rust-Colored Rain. That's
Oh,
what it
it's
is.
not a novella.
Oh, okay. That's okay though. There's multiple books, it looks like. And I love the cover and I'm like, it's zombie. Like I think I'm gonna love it. So
Didn't
Yeah.
book 2 like just come out like very recently? Pretty recently?
of course my Kindle isn't loading, so Rain. I'm not sure.
Oh, Jenny said, yep.
So there's 2 books. Yeah.
I
'Cause I'm a
haven't
big
read
Walking Dead
many
fan.
zombie books. Like I, World War
Yes,
Z I
there-
read, but I feel like that's
There
not your
are
typical
2.
zombie
The
book.
first one is amazing. I love it. It has it's a different take on it. You're going to love it too.
Okay.
I was sitting here like, hurry up and load. Yes, I was so. Oh, I love that. I want to wait until I can get the physical copy from his TikTok, but the issue is his TikTok won't recognize my address.
Mm.
So I might just beg Steph to let me send it to her and then have her send it to me. A Safe Place to Die. That's the second book. Yeah, it's great. As soon as I read it, I was telling everybody, I was like, read it.
Yeah.
Delicious Death. Are you talking about This Delicious Death? The one by Kayla Cottingham? Or is there a different Delicious Death book? The vampire book. Grady Hendrix is an autobiography for you? Yeah.
Yeah, I have all of his books.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Mhm.
I
That was his first
really
one.
enjoyed this
Wait.
one.
That was my second one. I had read Horror Store first.
Yeah. Like
That was my
that was
first
really
Grady
good.
Hendrix. Was the Southern Book Club.
Yeah.
Does it have a cooler? Yeah. So that's This Delicious Death. That one's like a YA vampire story. It was actually pretty freaking cute. I really liked her other one too. I can't remember what it's called. You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight?
Mm.
I remember seeing the cover of that book maybe last
one
year.
is another YA slasher type horror. It's like got a campground setting. But
Now that I've read a horror book on Everand, though, I'm now being recommended so many.
you're gonna get them all.
Yeah, and
but
the
her
one
books are a lot shorter too, so they're easier to digest if you want like a quick little fun horror killer. Nottingham? Cottingham, I think.
Oh, I have a special edition of You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, but apparently I can't find it. So
oh
it's somewhere.
Mine's in my living room, so I don't have it by me to grab. But or yeah, what did I say? Did I say vampires? Yeah,
love zombies.
Whatever.
I love it so much. I'm so sad they canceled that season, Santa Clarita Diet.
I liked
I'm
that.
so sad
It
they
was
canceled
so
that.
cute.
Yes, I loved it so much.
Have you guys watched iZombie?
I've started
Love
that,
it.
but to me it's too CWE.
Yeah, I love it though. It's so
Yeah, I
funny.
know. It's not bad at all. Yeah.
The main character is also in Ghosts, the US version of Ghosts. I love that
Yeah.
show. I'm dying.
Yeah. It's cute.
I think I watched like the first season of iZombie and then like kind of
It's just
checked
more
out.
cutesy for me. Like it, you know what I mean?
I like it. But I also was living in Seattle at the time, so like everything that was in it, I was like able to like reference. All right, so we're coming upon the hour mark. So our next book, just so everyone knows, is Graves by Caitlin Taylor.
I'm gonna read that one. I won't be hosting, but I am gonna read that one.
Yay. I'm so excited for it.
This one is a stalker twin brother obsession one, to where one brother's like obsessed with her, and then his brother like also becomes obsessed with her, and like,
is it Why Choose?
They don't. I mean, I'm assuming yes, but it says, can she have both of them? I think so. Also,
I'm here for it.
And
love me some
Brother
Why
kills
Choose.
brother too. I'm here for that as well.
yeah. Well, and I have her, Caitlin Taylor. I have her next book, Deceit. I was chosen to read the arc for it. So look at this. Oh.
That's so good. I love it.
Steph, I don't think you got yours yet, have you?
Mm-mm.
That's just a normal book. It's not a special edition.
The hardcover is the special edition from the convention.
Oh, okay.
But Steph has the soft cover coming to her that I got
love
for her
it.
since this was going to be one of our books. But that will be our book for next month. Yeah, and I know April's going to read it. Maggie's going to be joining us. So,
Yay! I'm excited for it. It'll be good for the readathon too.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Because I'm sure it's going to hit multiple teams tropes.
For sure.
I don't know much about it because I don't generally read synopsis, but
I try not to because I just want to be immersed. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I just want to
I
go
have a
along with
tendency
it.
to like make up things in my head. Like I'm like, oh, it's this kind of a book that's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and I'm mad it doesn't happen.
It's also the same thing where I don't really read reviews before I read a book because I'm also a type of person that's very easily influenced. So if you plant a seed in my brain, that's all I can think about. And I don't like doing that. Like I want to have my own opinion.
yeah, I don't read synopsises. Anybody who's watched any of my videos know this. I'll be like, yep, this is my new book. Guess what? I don't know anything about it.
I do read synopsises sometimes just because I think some of them are really like catchy and funny. But depends. Like a lot of books I just don't want to read them.
I will read blurbs or like little things, like, but I won't read the full-on synopsis.
I'll scan over it until I see a couple of like keywords, and I'm like, okay, haunted house, ghosts, good. I'm good. Let me have it.
It also needs to, like, especially with like romance books, like the first like couple sentences need to hook. Otherwise, I'm not reading the rest of that 4-page synopsis. And then at the end, I love when the author puts in their own notes, like if you like these things and if you like these type of books, then you might like this one. Like those type of things hook me more than the actual synopsis.
Some of them I'll also read the trigger warnings because that gives you an idea of what you're going in for.
Recently, I saw a book and the entire synopsis was just a list of tropes. And that's it. Did not give you anything else.
That.
Yeah.
That's my kind of synopsis.
I thought
Tell
it was
me what I'm in
interesting.
for, but don't explain it.
But don't explain it. Yeah, I was fine with that.
Yeah, that's
I
what
just thought it was so cool.
I read when we were gonna read God of Malice, because I knew it was a college thing, and I was like, this is probably not for me.
I was like, just give it a try. Read it with me, please.
Obsessed. But when I went to read the synopsis, it told you absolutely nothing. It was like 4 sentences.
Yeah.
Did you see that thing about the special editions of the Arena Camp books? Like $500 for 7 books?
Yeah. She specifically was getting those made so that she would have them, and she just opened it up for other people just in case they wanted to get them.
Oh.
But she pretty much only did it so that she could get an order of them.
I mean, it makes sense that it's that much money if it's an extremely limited run, because if you don't order like 500 copies of a book, it's going to be ridiculously overpriced for you.
Yeah.
There's only going to be like 20 copies.
Yeah, because most print shops won't even print books in that amount these days. Like they want you to do at least 100 or 50. Like you have to have certain kind of increments, and then the price goes down the more you order. So
I'm assuming you're talking about like actual like book printers and not just like regular printers.
Yeah, book printers, like any kind of print shop. Like I know we have that problem at work too. Like when I have to buy like marketing materials, whereas like we really only need like 100 or something to give away, and we have to buy 1,000. You know, like so we have them for literally years.
So where I used to work at a print shop, and you could order 5 and they wouldn't care. They would print it for you. As long as you paid for them to do the graphic designing to make sure it's all mocked up correctly. They didn't care. I didn't care if you wanted one. Like we did plenty of things where it was like one single thing. Or
I know sometimes they pay per plate or whatever. Like you have to pay for the printing plates of certain things, and some of those plates can be
if it's
by
going
color.
If it's going off an offset printer, yes. But if it's going off just a regular printer, like we had a bunch of different kinds of printers, and they would be able to print it just fine. And then they would be able to bind it like this with a hardcover and everything. Like they did it by hand, and they just would turn them out and do however many you wanted. Like whether
I'm
you
sure
want.
it depends on the shop too. I'm sure more like privately owned ones are going to be more willing to do
That was
things.
a pretty big one. That's the biggest print shop in the Pacific Northwest. So
Was it? Wow.
Like we printed things for all over Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, down to Oregon.
Well, if you're doing like specialty too, just books, I can see how that could be easier for you guys to do smaller limited runs. Whereas like another print shop that's doing like a bunch of different kinds of paper materials or other things.
We didn't. We also did giant banners for Nordstrom. We did all their printing materials. We did all the printing materials for Loves. We did business cards. We did tons. Look up Alpha Graphics. That's all you want. Like if you want just 100 little signs for your school, they'll do it.
I'm not kidding. I will look that up because
they will do just 100 pieces of paper if that's all you want. Is like because that's what we did all the time.
Well, we run into policy issues too, like because we have to have them be a certain logoed material has to be vetted through policy crap. So
there's legal crap and like companies, not your print shop, but the company.
And we even are contracted to work with local vendors. So
I mean, there are Alpha Graphics in California. We have them all over the U.S. I'm just saying.
I'm literally going to write this down and look it up for work.
Yeah, just as an option. I did all sorts of things. I did like one-off stickers, like weed out all the little things, like logos. Like I did all of it. So we did notepads, like spiral bound stuff, calendars, like.
Okay. I'm
Were
gonna
you guys
look it up.
contracted with any of like the publishing companies for like the big publishing companies for books though? I'm wondering if like that is something totally different.
Yeah, we were more for like indie people who wanted to just get their books printed. And then the only contracts we really had were with like Funko, Nordstrom, Lovers, a couple other different bigger companies. I don't know. And then my husband, he was recycle person, so he went around to a bunch of different companies, so he saw all sorts of things that people were making in books and stuff. Like it's interesting.
I'm definitely gonna look it up because if I can do smaller limited run things, that would be nice. So and we don't have the same stickers we've had for like 10 years because they had to buy 1,000.
That's ridiculous.
So
you need 1,000 stickers.
that was a total tangent, but just so you know, they're
out there.
They exist.
They look like they do much bigger things, but they do small stuff too. So
it's just like you might just be vetted into a contract with that company though, the school, and then you're not going to be able to do anything else.
Yeah, which is the difference. But
which sucks because then the local company, like especially in the 2020 times, they kept getting closed down, and then a new person would open it up, and then those people would close down, and a new person would. So it was a constant struggle to get printed materials locally around here. So
that's how
fun times.
That's how it was there too. We were running an entire print shop with like 3 people in a large format and like 5 people on the other side, like 2 graphic designers, and we were having to run everything.
I definitely I took a tour. The funnest thing that I did in my previous job was take a tour of a print shop that we used. And I could not believe how strong the ink smell was with a lot of the inks that they were making packaging materials for. And I was like, man, I don't know how you guys get used to this, but they're like, you just do,
You do. You really do. Yeah. Probably where the headaches came from.
The gigantic bales of paper and like plastic or whatever they're printing on, other stuff.
Those
are really cool.
That's an offset printer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably what we were using.
Yeah. It's different than some of the other ones, but
my migraines would be triggered so bad.
Oh yeah.
All those smells. I could never.
I for a decent amount of the time that I was there, I was actually like up the street, like 6 blocks away at one of the little satellite things doing stuff. So like sewing enormous like it was crazy, man. It's very different. Very different.
Fun.
That's all I'm gonna say. Glad I don't do it anymore, but it was an experience to go through.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway,
I feel like we've all had those jobs.
Yeah.
They were a time in my life.
Yes.
All right. Are we good then?
Yep. I think
All
so.
right.
Yeah. So we're all gonna, well, I don't know if you're joining or not, April, but Jenny and I are hopping over in the Discord and we are going to watch Scream 3.
If I can find it, I will, because I'm not really doing anything the rest of the day.
So I think that I may have solved the streaming issue with like
Oh.
Discord and getting the black screen.
Steph is going to change or try to get it to go through the actual Discord. So that'll be over. It's linked down below. So it'll be in one of the watch channels. So to see where we all are hanging out.
Okay.
But
We've already
otherwise,
gone
it
through the
is
first
on
Before-
HBO Max, and it's also rentable on Prime Video for like $3.99.
Okay.
If I can't get it working, but I
Okay.
think I got it working. It was working last night.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My
if
thing
that
with
means
the
it's working
Discord was
today.
more the audio would cut in and out, so that's why
Mm,
I had a hard time with watching.
it is on Max.
Yeah, I have Nitro as well, so I have like better streaming quality on
Okay. I'll check it out.
Discord. I can't guarantee that it'll work, but we can
Mhm.
try it.
It'll be a
And
rewatch for
then-
me because I think I've seen almost all of them.
And then I think later this week we're going to watch 4, and then next week we're going to switch gears for a movie and watch Five Nights at Freddy's for my birthday because it's my favorite. So we're going to watch that for my birthday. Steph's never seen it, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I just listened to the novelization of the movie. Amazing.
I've
I
seen
didn't even
it.
know they did one.
Yeah, it's great. And then we're going to go back and finish up the Screams because I think there's like 6 or 7 right now. So, and then in
That's a
October,
lot of screams.
yeah, and then on October we're going to switch to Halloween for Steph because
I don't know if I can watch those ones.
because her birthday,
Michael.
because her birthday is in October and Michael is her favorite. So,
Yay!
so if anyone wants to go and head over there, that's where we will be.
All right.
If anyone needs the link to the Discord, it is down in the description. Feel free to join us over there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. And I will talk to you in Discord.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.